Okay, so the W.A.S.P launcher. Armed with 7 rounds per canister with 6 canisters, you're looking at around 42 total shots per stratagem. With 2 firing modes, burst mode comes with heavy armor piercing rounds and can be rapidly fired if you hold down the shoot input. Artillery mode consumes whatever ammo you have left in the current mag, and the strength/radius of the explosion is determined by how many rockets are used at once. However, do note that the explosion damage is spread out and it doesn't penetrate heavy armor. It will still, however, penetrate medium armor. So what's the purpose of this weapon? Well, in my eyes, it's a safer and heavier version of the airburst rocket launcher. This thing absolutely destroys medium units no matter what front you're on, and if needed, this thing can deal out some pretty decent anti-tank damage as well. And while there is the downside of not being able to target chaff enemies, as long as there is a medium enemy nearby, you can utilize the artillery mode to wipe out a whole group, aka they make for excellent medium patrol clears. Also, there's the upside of this thing having massive amounts of range comparable to the spear. But like the spear, that means it struggles in close range, and it also struggles sometimes against fast-moving flying enemies like the Watchers and the Flying Overseers. The way the rocket comes out also hurts the performance of this thing. Once fired, the rockets themselves have a weird trajectory that can sometimes lead to the rockets missing or hitting the environment around them. It also makes it hard to specifically aim for a vital area unless the enemy is facing directly at you and is at a decent distance away. On the bot front, the W.A.S.P launcher actually performed not as well as I would have liked it to. Because of the inconsistent nature of the rockets, I found myself semi-frequently having to sink 2 rockets into medium units. Oh, and since the bots primarily consist of heavier armor units, I found myself rarely making the switch to artillery mode. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great for softening up the bots for sure, but the regular burst mode rockets actually have some decent splash anyways, so I think I'd rather just go for the higher damage and penetration instead. And speaking of heavy units, the W.A.S.P launcher sucks against the ones in the bot front. Hulks often move too fast, and even if they're facing straight at you, it'll still take pretty much a whole mag to kill just one. With how frequent they are, you're better off grabbing something else. It's the same story with tanks, except you can't really aim for the weak spot unless you're behind them, and the fact that they're just, well, tankier. The only exception to this is the Shredder tank, which actually goes down in about 4 shots, I think. Factory Striders are the biggest obstacle of all. While you can target the cannon and easily take that down with half a mag, killing the damn thing is a whole different story. Shooting anywhere other than the head takes 10 years, and even while the rockets are connecting to the head, it's like 3 or 4 mags worth of shots to take it down. It's not worth it. And don't forget, while you're doing all this, you're probably getting shot and thrown around by explosions the entire time. So, epic! Fabricators aren't all that great too, since you also need plenty of shots to take those down. Dropships are also pretty much a no-go either. The saving grace though is that the launcher has a consistent 2-shot for gunships. Overall, the W.A.S.P launcher isn't bad, but it's definitely not the greatest against the bots. You'll definitely want to focus on anti-tank stratagems or bombardments if you're going to be running this. Now the Illuminates are a whole different story. However, right now there's only, well, 5 enemies, so maybe this will change in the future. But as of right now, this thing is pretty good. You can one-shot Watchers in both Overseer variants, and you can easily take down Harvester shields as well. The main problem here is the sheer number of voteless and the fact that this thing can be hard to use in the cities because of all the buildings in the way. And like I said earlier, because of the way the Watchers and the jetpack Overseers move in the air, sometimes you'll just straight up miss your shots. The voteless can be super easy to take out if they're out on patrol and they have an Overseer nearby to utilize the artillery mode. In all other situations though, that thing ain't doing nothing against the hordes of those guys. And for the Harvesters, while you can easily take down the shield, killing it is again a whole different story. Depending on how you're using it, it can take pretty much 2 mag dumps to kill the things. And while you're doing that though, the weapon suffers from a stationary reload, which isn't exactly ideal when there are swarms of mind-controlled zombies and a big blue laser of death. Now overall, it's definitely more feasible to run a launcher here than on the bot front, but you'll still run into the occasional problem here or there. For stratagems though, I recommend bringing something like sentries to control the excess crowds of voteless, and something to finish off the Harvesters once you mag dump them. A good primary to deal with shields and the voteless are essential as well. And finally, we have the bugs. This thing is an absolute beast on this front. You can one-shot like all the medium units consistently, besides the Alpha Commander. It has great splash, so you can still clear the small bugs with the burst mode. The artillery mode also does great consistent damage to the medium and small bugs, and it's not that bad at killing the elites either. With proper distance and head facing you, you can one-mag a Behemoth Charger, which, by the way, will also obliterate any smaller bugs near them, which makes it great at dealing with those patrols. And with non-optimal aiming, 2 mags are enough to make it slow and bleed out. For Spore and regular Chargers, 1 mag is usually enough to take care of them, no matter where you aim. You can cross-map Shrieker Nests and Spore Towers with about 4 shots each. For Bile Titans, you'll need 2 mags if you're shooting them in the head, and if you're not, well, then you're looking at around 3 to 4 mags instead. And the greatest thing you can kill? The Impalers. With their face exposed, it's a super consistent 3 to 4 rockets, and you can also one-shot them with the artillery mode instead if you feel like it. Also, the launcher can target bug holes. If you're at least looking towards the front of the bug hole, you can pretty easily destroy them. But don't get too excited now though. You'll still have to watch out for the patrols of hunters, pouncers, scavengers, and shriekers. So like with the Illuminates, I recommend you bring some chaff clear like sentries and a good primary weapon like the cookout shotgun to cover your back. You may also want to opt for something like rocket pods or the 500 kg just in case you don't have time or the resources to finish something like a Bile Titan or a Charger. And yeah, that was the W.A.S.P launcher. I hope you guys enjoyed this little weapon review, and I hope to see you out there spreading democracy. Anyways, peace.